Building amazing experiences that engage and delight your customers is easy with Commio. Our smart, reliable voice and messaging solutions are easy to implement and scale with you so you can deliver more calls and texts, be more competitive, and save money. With Commio, you get peace of mind and happier customers. Find out why thousands of software platforms and enterprises trust Commio with their communications. Get a demo today.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to yet another cloud communications industry briefing from your friends here at Commio. You know, we bounce around a lot of ideas internally and listen to the sort of the marketplace, and I think we've all been a little surprised as we've gone into this new year that there's still so much chatter around what we would probably call the basics of phone numbers. And for those of you who have been to a few of these, you know, we've talked with a few people, including Sam Schiffman here, our chief strategist, and Katie Reddick, our director of customer success, about phone numbers. But we really felt like as we went into February, in particular this month, that we wanted to sort of bring up some big topics that are sort of continually being brought up that are coming in from our customers and our prospects alike. So without further ado, we really wanted to talk all about phone numbers, and that, you know, just when you thought you knew everything about them and how to get them set up, how to add them, you know, to your communication stack, there's still new things to learn. So with that, I just want to say, Sam and Katie, welcome in.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, guys. Always great to chat with you both. So let's kind of get started with Sam. You know, let's just start with the most easiest question, which is, you know, what do different companies look for in phone numbers? Because we have people coming to us every day asking about phone numbers for everything from platforms to a provider business. So, you know, what do the folks coming to us really look for in a number?
You know, some businesses are very regional, so they don't really need much local coverage, maybe one or two markets. And then there are others with a network in place that is really valuable to them when they need sort of a nationwide footprint and they want to have a local presence everywhere. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of, you know, might be somebody we know. Example is if you had like a CAS provider that had an application and they had doctor's offices for customers all across the U.S., that would enable them to get numbers everywhere that they have customers in place and take it from there. So,
right. So they'd want sort of, you know, long codes, right? We would call on the texting side 10-digit long codes that have a local area code. So you know that those are local numbers, but they could also use toll free, right? So if they were nationwide, so it just depends. Right.
Yeah, it really does depend upon how you're suited on that. It's if you're looking to have a nationwide footprint, but you want to look local numbers are great. Toll free gives, you know, you got one number that you're having to reference, and this happens with a lot of our customers. They have both.
Right. Well, Katie, that's the question for you, which I think we might have just answered, which is, you know, what are the types of numbers available and what are the differences? So.
Yeah, so like Sam said, toll-free and regular DIDs or local DIDs are available for all of the US. We cover Canada as well as Puerto Rico. So you can choose to get local numbers or you can go the toll-free route. You also, as far as like 10DLC and messaging goes, you can register your 10DLC numbers. And then you can also register your toll-free separately. And then you also have short codes.
That's right. So you can text enable those numbers. But Sam, to go back over to you, you know, we also recently rolled out hosted messaging. So you don't even necessarily have to port your numbers to Commio to make texting work on those numbers, right?
Correct. So with our hosted messaging service, that's exactly what it does. If there's a reason that your legacy voice side of the number is working well for you, and you want just to have your messaging services, a provider that has hosted messaging, that's what they're talking about, is that you can split or bifurcate your messaging and voice services.
Got it. And Sam, you're our go-to. Katie comes to you when a customer has a need, you know, to actually procure those numbers. So A question we get a lot is, where do our phone numbers come from?
Oh, well, our particular numbers being a VLEC come from the NAMPA, or the North American Numbering Plan Administrator. They're an outsourced group, third-party group that the FCC oversees for the industry. So we pull them directly from the source. And if you were to sort of compare that to like maybe an aggregator, where they would be pulling in numbers from many providers like a Commio, other VLECs, and kind of trying to stitch all those things together.
Right. Gotcha.
But a whole bunch of regulatory administrative funness that I'm sure nobody really wants to hear about.
Well, one important thing to bring up, though, is that Commio is also a REST-borg, so that's how we can source those toll-free numbers for you, right?
Yeah. So on the toll-free side, the comparable entity is Somos, and they run the toll-free SMS. Right. And inside of the way toll-free was built from the start, there's a lot of different disaster recovery, some failover functionality that is just kind of baked into toll-free as a service. Not all providers bake it in, but it's available for providers to build those services as redundant. Now, on the sort of local voice side of things, those numbers were never really built with that in mind, but we've been working on in the background to basically make a local number take on much of the same properties as a toll-free number inside of disaster recovery and redundancy options. So that should be it's in the works and coming months.
Gotcha. That's right. Katie, question for you is, does it really matter where I buy my phone numbers from, or who registers it? Why would they, for instance, want to come and buy some numbers from Commio over somebody else?
Yeah, so great question. One thing to consider is, does your provider have direct access to all of the different numbering resources? Do they have portable numbers? Do they have a portal where you can easily access number information or even an API? And those are things we cover. So, we can get you numbers from pretty much any NPA. We can do toll free for you as well. And we can also port both of those types of numbers in. We have that in the portal. We have tracking pages for it. So if you have more than one port open at any point in time, as well as everything can be done via the API. And you can also see in our portal, we've done some releases recently around campaign registry pages. So we're connected directly with TCR, and we can help you get campaigns and brands registered and approved.
Right. What I hear, what I hope everybody on this watching this video or on this call today is hearing is that you want to work with Commio necessarily because there are people that have stopped working with other providers because sort of sourcing and provisioning and getting those numbers up and running has been a traditional, we call it a pain point, Katie, right? We hear all the time that has been a pain, literally a pain, and we've taken as much pain out of it as we can. Right, Katie?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the biggest complaints we hear is, the porting process took too long, or I didn't have visibility. I, wasn't able to pre-configure numbers and we had downtime. All of that is fixed with our solution. We give you the option to pre-configure numbers. Like I said, we have a tracking page so that you can easily see the updated status. And we're going to keep you updated along the way. We try and make sure 2 days don't go by without giving you some kind of update, even if it's just, it's still pending the losing provider.
Yep, you got it. And Sam and Katie, two-part question. So first part is for you, Sam, which is something that we heard recently in some of our new case studies that some of you out there may have been reading recently is, there are people that have come to us and said things like, I was trying to get a toll-free number, but after 2 months, I either gave up or, it finally started to kind of work, but it didn't really work. So the question for you, Sam, for me is, why is it so hard to get the numbers that people need in the places that they need them? Because I know you're also building out our network as well.
Because they don't have a Sam and Katie.
Okay, good answer.
It's just Simply
Good
that.
answer. Okay. Easy.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
I don't think we would stand for that kind of turnaround and service level on something. So
Yeah.
and we were talking about some feedback we got from some customers the other day, and that was one of the things that they had mentioned is that when they came to us, they're already we get a lot of customers that come in the door this way. They've been through a port process at some point. It was painful for them. They likely had downtime, and that's what they've just grown to expect. And then when they go through our process, they're like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? Like, I'm done? That works? Like,
Right.
I,
Well,
I get 2 months back?
yeah, which is exactly the
Exactly.
example. Yeah, that's the example I was going through was, we had, I think it was United Urology Group tried to stand up a new toll-free number, and 2 months, and they basically had to give up because it just their basically their contact center software provider couldn't get the job done. Whereas with us, Katie, you'd agree, right? If he had needed that number in the morning, we could have gotten it for him, provisioned it, got it up and running the same day.
Yeah. I mean, you can
Yeah.
go into our portal and buy a new toll free and a new local did immediately. And within seconds, you can activate it and start using it.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. So, and I know, Sam, you and I were talking before the call about, if you tried to do what we do through an aggregator, there's a lot of different issues with that. Not only a higher cost, but there are other things involved, right?
Right. So, there could be an argument made that if you're having trouble reaching numbers from one provider, why don't I go to somebody that just aggregates all these providers together? That in itself really causes a lot of other things. There's some trade-offs to it. One, yeah, as you said, the cost is going to be higher. At this point, you've put in multiple touch points of failure, operational and technical. The ability for you the speed in which you're going to get that activation is going to be slower. It's just you're having to go through many more hands. And so while it may seem like a good thing to do, it really does. All the port problems we're talking about, you're more likely to get those with an aggregated type service. So that's why. Did I answer your question?
I think you did. Well, I think, Sam, one of the really great things that's happened since, you came on board and helped us, buying sort of allotments of phone numbers in more places that, I think inventory is something, that's been important to us, and allowing us, when people come into our portal or use our APIs, that there are more numbers available in more places. And I think we were talking recently about that, if a customer has a request, for instance, I mean, if we don't already have it, we can get it for you, right?
Yeah.
And we're really flexible like that.
It was interesting. We do our network build outs on populations and things like that you would expect. But that said, if there's a customer need, and we've done this several times, one was a onboarding customer, and the other was an existing customer that I can think of, and just happens frequently. If there was a market that we weren't in, that we were able to put it in place. One of them was for a disaster recovery scenario, so we were able to get that up and going. And the other was just a more rural area that we hadn't expanded into yet, that we've got coming up now. So,
right. Okay, great. Question for you, Katie, is, well, I mean, this sort of dovetails with Sam, with what you just said, which is, what if somebody has an existing provider, but they don't have the numbers that they need? What are their options there? What can they do?
Yeah. So, like Sam was saying, we are constantly expanding our footprint. If we have the number available, they can go into the portal or use the API and purchase that immediately. If they do a search, whether it's for a specific NPA or a state and rate center, whatever that may be, if there are not available results, they will have a button that says back order. That'll send us the details of how many you need, what area. And if we can't get it same day, we'll go start the process to make sure we get inventory in those areas.
Yeah. Sam, tell me about some of those requests coming through recently. What is the, I'm just curious, what's the demand been like coming back through the portal recently?
And well, when we actually also track what our customers are searching for. So we have a process in place that if they go through the API or the portal, either way, and they're doing searches for numbers and you can do searches on rate centers and states and LADAs if you want to, or MPAs, area codes. So we track all that. And if we start to see areas where we don't have inventory, maybe it's a rate center that we just haven't gone into and there's interest in it, that is how we work on expanding our footprint. So
that's great.
We try to be customer directed as much as possible.
Yeah. And Sam, I don't think it's giving anything away, but what does our inventory look like now? Because I know it's come a long way since I started a couple of years ago. Oh, he's looking at the charts, guys. He knows. He knows.
I think we're getting close to 7 million.
7 million. Okay. I think you might be able to find what you need, guys. Yeah. If not, let us know. That's great. 7 million. Wow. I feel like the last time we talked about this, you said 3. So that's a really big increase. That's great.
Yeah. No, there was some times, and I'll caveat that that's TN's phone numbers under management. Some of those are already assigned to customers. A lot of them are. So
okay.
But yeah,
under management.
Under management.
Yeah.
That's just to give you an idea of sort of our size and scope, though.
Got it. Katie, kind of fill us in, and I know we talked about the fact that this is a big pain point, but could you give us kind of the high level, like what is involved in moving numbers between providers? Because we have people come to us asking about our services, and I think the first thing they're concerned about is, oh my gosh, what is it going to take to move my number? So
yeah, and you can move numbers. You can move them one at a time. If you have thousands of numbers, we can either do a very large bulk port in, or we can break it down to whatever amount you feel comfortable with. A lot of times people, when they first come over, they'll do a smaller port, maybe for one or a couple of numbers. And then once they see how easy the process is, they're happy to send over larger quantities. But all we really need is your current provider information. And that's things like, what's your address on the account with them? What's your account number? Who is that provider? And then what we do is submit those numbers immediately upon receiving the request from our customer. And we'll keep you updated along the way. So if something gets rejected, maybe it's account number or an inactive number in the list, we're going to let you know as soon as we get that update. I think a lot of times the holdup is there's a delay in passing back rejections, or if more information is needed, there's that delay. But we are on it every single day, checking for updates, and we'll help you understand those rejections too. So we're never going to just pass a rejection and say, figure it out. We want to help you get the right information to get those moved over.
Yeah, so I think we answered both questions, which is we have a big inventory. You can buy new numbers. You can activate them the same day, toll-free domestic. That's all good. But if you're trying to move a number, I think one of the important things to stress, Katie, is because you talked about this the other day, is, if you are, porting a number from another provider and we get it all locked and loaded, as you said, full visibility into what that looks like, how is it moving, but then you can also even stipulate when that number actually is going to go live when it transfers, right? So I know in the past people have had problems where they're like, oh, wait a minute, either it didn't happen at the time that you talked about, or it happened at a random time.
Right. Yeah. If you're a company where you don't care, you just need it to go on that date, that's fine. We can set it up that way. But if you're someone that needs it to port, first thing in the morning, or maybe mid-afternoon when you have someone on site, whatever that may be, we can make that happen.
Yeah. So down to the hour, right? That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we start to look at portings of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, we've done million+ port projects. Those obviously get broken down into 5, 10, 50 a day kind of chunks as to just ways to migrate that traffic. And when we do have large port orders like that, it doesn't really go through the portal at that point. We actually hold the hands of our customer and just go through it. We can tell them exactly when it's happening, and so that's. We've done projects that are large and they've been very successful.
Great. Good to hear it. So Sam, just a question, because we get this all the time, which is, what are, bad numbers, and what can I do if I get one of those bad numbers, and how can we help? So I think bad means different things to different people, but usually starts with, hey, I got a number and it says spam risk. Let's just start there. Yeah.
Yeah. You number, go get in the corner. I'm wagging my finger at you. Great.
If only everybody was laughing. But yeah, no, I get it.
Right.
I get it.
If it's happened to yours, and frankly, this has happened to phone numbers of mine personally that I've had for 15 years. So it's and people don't like this sometimes, but I say, I have to realize I'm not special. It's happening to everyone.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
So essentially what happens is bad number or spam likely or spam tagging. A lot of this is done by the third-party analytics engines. They're broken out by the big three wireless carriers. So Haya is AT&T's provider, TNS is Verizon's provider, and First Orion is T-Mobile's. Yeah. So what's a bad number? I think when we get customers asking us about bad numbers, I think that's it. And they can happen by no fault of one of our customers. There can just be people spoofing numbers out in the world and giving your particular phone number a bad reputation.
Gotcha. So what can somebody do about that, I guess, is the big question when that pops up? What could or should they do when that occurs?
Yeah, there's a range of solutions, anything from some DIY stuff that we can do with customers on sort of low volume. They'll call into the NOC, and the NOC will walk them through what are the different options that they can do to try to restore any sort of level on those numbers. We work with some service provider companies that really are they will give you direct hands-on experience. I know we've talked with a couple of them. We have a couple of partners, and so if that's a level of service that you're looking for, or you can choose to work with the big three. I mean, there's just a lot of ways to address it, and it really just kind of depends upon what level of service are you going to need for this. Is this if you got 10 numbers and the DIY doesn't sound so bad to you, okay, great. We won't. That's fine. But some of our clients are, customers are 100,000s of numbers, and we have to do sort of specialized things for them.
Gotcha. Okay. And Katie, just out of curiosity, it's interesting because felt like even 5 years ago, text messaging really wasn't nearly as big a thing as it is now. So if I'm somebody out there who is sort of looking for phone numbers to do text messaging on, like, how does messaging factor into my choice, like the kinds of numbers I'm actually buying and using?
Yeah. So any number that you get from us has the option of enabling text messaging on it. And I think we talked about it earlier, but we also now have the hosted numbers option where you can leave your voice with whoever you have it with, but go ahead and use us for the messaging component. One thing that's important when you are, looking for a phone number is, are you going to be registering it with the campaign registry? If it's toll free, are you going to be whitelisting it? And do you have a carrier that's going to be helpful when you're going through that process? And, like we said, we have pages and API right in directly to the campaign registry, and we help you along the way if anything gets rejected or if you just have questions on how to submit those.
Got it. Yep. As we all know, anybody out there who's been paying attention, compliance is a huge question. I won't call it an issue. It's just part of doing business now in this industry, whether you're on our side or on your side, is making sure we're following the rules. So as Katie said, with our new APIs and platform able to tie into the campaign registry for 10-digit long code for messaging or the whitelisting for toll free, like, there are some really important rules that everybody needs to follow to make sure that traffic can be sent successfully and that there aren't any issues. But yeah, we could do a whole session just on that, and we have done sessions just on that. All right. So I guess with that, Katie, I'd love to just kind of end with you here. I know you and your team do ports like all day, every day. I'm just curious if you had anything else you wanted to fill in with, as people are out there thinking about, where can I buy my numbers and I've got to port numbers, like any other tips or tricks that you'd want to pass along, because you guys do so many of these?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say is definitely don't hesitate to reach out, even if you just want to know if your numbers are portable to us. We can always tell you, we can check a list and tell you if they are without you having to actually submit anything. We can also do things for like toll free. If you need to know, well, where is my toll free number? We can always do a rest board check for you and help you get that moved over as well. So I would just say definitely don't hesitate to reach out, whether it's with a porting question or you have a weird rejection you're trying to sort out. We are always more than happy to go through your list of numbers, help you find the pieces of information you need from your current provider to be able to get those moved over.
Awesome. And Sam, let's leave it. I'd love to hear a comment from you. You mentioned inbound disaster recovery is something that we kind of already have working internally, but we're going to be rolling that more out externally. So would love for you to speak into that a little bit more about kind of what that is and how that's going to work. Why would people want that?
Because unfortunately disasters do happen. And even outside of that, human mistakes happen. That can take even the largest AT&T's network down, or any of those guys. And so our path, our disaster recovery on the DID voice side of the world is with the concept of you're able to move networks from the green network to the blue network. And those can take completely different, PSTN geek tandem paths here, go through different end offices, so that it is truly a different routes but it's on the local market side of things.
Got it. Yep. So as anybody who knows, Commio is, as you can see, the logos are still here for the time being. Think a combination of Think and Telly, and on the Think side, we've had really good outbound redundancy since our company was born more than 10 years ago, and Katie started working for us 10 years ago. But we're really excited to add the inbound redundancy piece in 2023, which will be exciting. So as I like to say, as the marketer, you can control your calls from dial to delivery on both ends. So I'm excited to be leaning into that more as the year progresses.
Yeah,
well, great.
Really excited about it.
Yeah, love it. Sam and Katie, thank you so much for your time today. I think you filled in a lot of those gaps for folks that had questions or issues around phone numbers in general. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we speak. Appreciate it for our industry briefing for February. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. All right, bye.
Building amazing experiences that engage and delight your customers is easy with Commio. Our smart, reliable voice and messaging solutions are easy to implement and scale with you, so you can deliver more calls and texts, be more competitive, and save money. With Commio, you get peace of mind and happier customers. Find out why thousands of software platforms and enterprises trust Commio with their communications. Get a demo today.